After a little bit of peer pressure, some spontaneous decision making later, I flew to Iceland on board Hekla Aurora, one of Icelandair's two special livery Boeing 757s, which unfortunately both will be retired by the end of the year. I was keen to fly on at least one of them, so I booked this flight just 12 hours in advance. It was quite a surreal experience, which I will get into within this trip report. I start off in Glasgow, where Icelandair recently celebrated 80 years flying flights between Iceland and Scotland's largest city. Icelandair have two classes of travel. Saga class, their kinda premium economy, business class hybrid, and economy, which is what I would be flying in. Glasgow Airport has two terminals for check-in. Icelandair used Terminal 1, the main terminal. I checked in the terminal and also got a paper boarding pass. Through Glasgow, Icelandair and Emirates have an extensive codeshare agreement. This is because their flights arrive and depart around the same time. Passengers travelling from Dubai to Iceland can connect through Glasgow and vice versa. In the last couple of months, Glasgow Airport has also been improving their departure lounge, with some new shops and restaurants added to the lounge. The early afternoon rush is the second busiest time of the day at Glasgow, with various holiday airlines, Icelandair's daily flight to Keflavik and Emirates' daily A380 service to Dubai, all in around the same time. Glasgow has been a stronghold for Icelandair for many years, and it is in fact their second hub. In 2010, when the volcano erupted, all of Icelandair's fleet were temporarily based at Glasgow until the ash cloud cleared. Now for the main event, plane that would be taking me to Iceland. Icelandair's Hekla Aurora 757, which is also probably their most famous aircraft. This Boeing 757-200, registration TF-FIU, was the 603rd Boeing 757 to roll off Boeing's production line. It first flew in April 1994. It joined Spanish flag carrier Iberia's fleet in July of that year. It remained with them until May 2003, where it was then stored at Manchester for a year before being delivered to Icelandair in April 2004, where it's remained ever since. At the time of filming, this 757 had an age of 31.5 years old. The hand-painted Hekla Aurora livery is absolutely stunning. It's probably one of the best, if not the best, special livery in the skies. Icelandair painted this plane in the livery in December 2014 as part of their My Stopover campaign, as part of Iceland's drive to promote Iceland as a stopover destination for travellers going between Europe and the US. At no extra cost, travellers can stop off in Iceland for a few days on the way to the US and vice versa. The stopover promotion is one of the reasons why Iceland is such a popular tourist destination. The name Hekla Aurora comes from two different names, one of Iceland's better known volcanoes and the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis. I think I pronounced that right. Waiting to board, I don't think I've ever been this excited to fly on a plane. I was flying in my favourite aircraft type and the best special livery in the skies. The adrenaline was still going from booking the flight just 12 hours before. I barely slept the night before. It was now finally time to board, and I was buzzing with excitement. Icelandair normally board their 757s via jet bridge and through the second-hand left side door. On the right hand side of the door there is a plaque that shows Hekla Aurora and a little bit of information about the aircraft's name. The cherry on top of this flight though had to be getting seat 7F. Not only was it an extra legroom seat, and the seat itself was very padded and very comfortable, but it also overlooked the engine, the two Rolls-Royce RB211s. For the entire takeoff, it was a pretty typical Scottish weather. Rain to sun to sunny and more rain. Video commentary will resume after the pushback and engine startup.
Thank you.
It was quite fitting, the weather, as this was potentially Hekla Aurora's final visit to Glasgow. On the same day of this potential final visit was also Icelandair's inaugural Edinburgh flight. Icelandair will fly between Keflavik and the Scottish capital 4 times per week year round, using the 737 MAX. As it was, very possibly, the final visit of Hekla Aurora to Glasgow. There was quite a few spotters out, bracing the elements to watch the takeoff. The video commentary will resume after the takeoff. Here's the takeoff out of a wet and sunny Glasgow Airport. With the weather clearing up, the views of the Scottish Highlands climbing to cruise were stunning. You really can't beat the Scottish Highlands. It's probably time I get into how this trip came about. A few weeks prior, I'd flew on Condor's 757-300s between Frankfurt and Palma, and they are also getting retired at the end of the year. Icelandair was next on the cards, originally planned for next year. However, their scheduling for aircraft types is very unreliable. I looked at flights in October and it's went from a 757 to a 737 MAX, and now it's showing as an A321. Fridays, however, from Glasgow are consistently 757s. The night before was a housework day. Having done all my housework, even taking my dinner for the Friday out the freezer, I sat down and had a look at flight radar. I noticed Hekla Aurora was operating the flight, decided to look at Icelandair's site, and things spiralled from there. To the point, I ended up booking this flight. A massive thank you to Jonathan Winton and Fergus, Northern Aviation, for helping me with the planning of this trip. It was easy enough to get to Iceland. Getting back, however, different story. Make sure to check out and subscribe to their channels, especially Jonathan Winton's, who you can see on screen right now. To put this last minute trip into perspective, for the flight itself, I paid £288.74. The extra legroom seat cost me £27.30. The Condor trip, all the flights cost the price of this one flight. To add to this, on a good day, Icelandair cost around £200 one way and £400 return. The extra legroom seat was excellent, with 34 inches of legroom. Not one, not two, but 3 safety cards in the seat pocket. They also came in this really cool little wallet. There was also 2 in my seat, but that is because of the 2 Saga class seats in front. The seat pocket contained a safety card, a sickness bag with some information on one of Iceland's waterfalls, which name ties into being sick on a plane. It also contained an in-flight menu. Icelandair has a buy on board menu. However, they do still offer passengers a free water, tea or coffee, and I opted for a coffee. Icelandair offer Wi-Fi on board their flights. The free Wi-Fi allows you to connect, not badly priced at all, but the Wi-Fi would cost €6 for the flight. I didn't buy Wi-Fi, but it's nice to know for a longer flight there is the option. Not featured in the seat pocket, the Wi-Fi allows passengers to look at Icelandair's more extensive in-flight magazine, all their duty-free products, other products, and their models. I didn't buy one on this flight, but I wouldn't mind getting a Hekla Aurora model at some point. Now for a look at the in-flight entertainment system. Because I was in an extra legroom seat, my screen came from the bottom of the seat. The tray table was also located within the seat's armrest. Icelandair's onboard entertainment system had a good selection of movies, TV shows, music, as well as a lot of Icelandic tailored TV programmes and some mini documentaries about Icelandair, like the fleet renewal one. The screen also featured a USB charging port and a headphone jack. Icelandair also give passengers the option to purchase a transit bus into the city centre for 7,300 Icelandic kroner return. This worked out at around £40. Might sound like a lot, but this is the easiest airport transfer I've ever done. Straight out the terminal, on the right, all the buses to take you across Iceland. Now for a look at the toilet. It was clean, very retro, it was a plain toilet. They also had the retro flush handle, which is fading more and more. The majority of Icelandair's 757s, including Hekla Aurora, can seat up to 183 passengers, 22 in Saga class, in a 2-2 configuration, and 161 in economy class, in a typical free layout. You might think the livery is what make Hekla Aurora special, but there's touches inside the cabin as well. As it was a daytime flight, it was a bit difficult to see, but the mood lighting inside the cabin is tailored to match the northern lights. Instead of the normal Icelandair branding on the winglets, on Hekla Aurora it's got the hashtag MyStopover. Icelandair has a range of different special liveries on the 757s. You've got your 2 main passenger aircraft ones, Hekla Aurora and Vatnajökull. I think I've pronounced that right. This 757 was painted and named after Iceland's largest ice cap. It was painted to celebrate 80 years of Icelandic aviation. Another hand-painted livery, this time featuring a glacier and a very striking blue livery. After landing into Keflavik, I actually saw it on stand. Just a week after making this video, it was retired, and a few days after taking the flight on Hekla Aurora, it made its final visit into Glasgow. It was ferried to Kansas City on the 22nd of September 2025. Icelandair used to also operate 2 Boeing 757-300s, the extended pencil. One of these was painted in another special livery, this time to celebrate 100 years of Icelandic independence. These were both retired at the end of 2024 from Icelandair's main fleet. However, they are still flying and operated by Icelandair. They are on lease to fly Cavia and are based in Tashkent in Uzbekistan. Icelandair also has 3 VIP configured 757s. 2 have 80 seats and 1 has a combination of 56 or 80 seats. The 2 80-seater 757s are painted in a National Geographic special livery, whilst the one with either 56 to 80 seats is in an all-white livery. Icelandair mainly use these for charter work, transporting football teams, and very, very expensive worldwide cruises. Midway through making this video, and literally a couple of days ago, Icelandair has confirmed their retirement plans for Hekla Aurora. Up until the 12th of October, it will be operating a handful of commercial flights. The final flight, planned for the 12th of October, will depart Reykjavik, flying for an hour or so sightseeing around Iceland before doing a low pass over Reykjavik City Airport and then returning to Keflavik. You can actually book to fly on this flight, $199 for a non-window seat and $349 for a window seat. At the time of making this video, there is seats still available. For anyone interested in booking this special flight on Hekla Aurora, I've included a link in the video description to Icelandair's website. Once Hekla Aurora is retired, 6 full passenger 757s will remain. The 3 VIP 757s will also remain, with Icelandair operating a total of 9 757-200s. The retirement will either be next year or in 2027, which is still to be confirmed. During the descent, the scenery coming into Iceland was absolutely incredible. The video commentary will resume after the landing into Keflavik.
We're bringing this back to life.
Overall, my flight aboard Hekla Aurora was really good. It was surreal to be flying probably the best special livery plane in the skies. I was sitting on the flight pretty much most of the way there thinking, I cannot believe I'm on Hekla Aurora. I think the spontaneousness, the mad last minute planning, and the tiny little bit of peer pressure was entirely worth it. It was one of those flights that was just, regardless of the cost, was completely worth jumping at. I've never been this excited for a flight in a long time, and it's up there as one of the most random things I've ever done. I would like to fly Icelandair again, definitely on a longer flight and maybe even in Saga class, and if I can do it on one of their 757s, even better. To also get such a good window seat really rounded off the whole flight. It's pretty sombre to see both their iconic special liveries get retired, Hekla Aurora and Vatnajökull. But hopefully down the line, Icelandair paints their replacements on either their A321LRs and eventually their A321XLRs when they are finally delivered. I kindly asked the cabin crew if I could get a cockpit visit, and to my luck, they allowed me to, which was fantastic. It really closed off such a surreal flight. Icelandair has updated all their 757s with the glass cockpit displays. I also said to both the pilots and the cabin crew I booked just to be on this flight, and their faces kind of dropped like, wait a minute, what? They were both kind of surprised and shocked at the same time. One more thing, the fact that this very likely was Hekla Aurora's final visit to Glasgow just rounds off everything so nicely. I've uploaded this video around the 1st or on the 1st of October, so if there's any further changes to Hekla's retirement plan, I will not have that information in this video, just the information about the farewell flight on the 12th. Thanks for watching this trip report. If you have enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.